Here's the thing. I didn't sign out of the Pain Train Outdoors channel. I needed to sign out, switch accounts, go to my other account before I could join. Because every time I joined, it just kicked us out. That's my fault. I screwed it up.
I mean, I figured that's what
Rookie
was
mistake,
happening
bro.
because I was literally live and then I just wasn't, and it happened like 2 times, and I was like, "What is going on?" Now, I don't know if it's me or if it's you. This is like fucking horrible.
You froze
All
up
right.
on me.
I don't know if it was me. You're coming in nicely now.
Yeah, but you froze
Maybe I
up.
spoke too soon.
No, I'm good. I hear you.
Yeah, you're coming in really, dude. I'm like 2 feet from my router. It shouldn't be me.
Can you hear? What's the volume like?
Your volume's okay. You keep freezing up on me a little bit, or a lot of bit. Hmm. Like you're still froze up, but I can hear you, which I don't.
We're going straight into it. How about now?
Oh, you're coming across perfectly now.
Worse.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. I jumped off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's
So
what it was.
these are the learning pains that we're just going to go through.
Yeah, am I coming across well for you?
Slight delay right there, but keep talking.
Okay. Well, I guess we're out here, and I'm going to tie some flies. I got to refill the size 22 WD-40s in my box here because I'm out, and that's where I'm at. How's that coming
I see this
across?
over here.
Looks like you got some Pain Train Outdoor stuff going on in the background there.
I updated a thumbnail.
Oh, I gotcha.
Oh yeah.
I gotcha.
I privated that last video, and I uploaded. I changed the thumbnail a little bit. Took a couple of parts out of the video. Tried to make it pretty seamless. There were a couple awkward parts in there. I think maybe that was contributing to the views there. So I re-uploaded it, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I'm kind of excited about it. Hey, for jumping on the live, welcome. Alfred's going to tie some flies. I'm probably going to talk some smack because that's what I do best.
I can
Is
zoom
Alfred
in
going
on
to
it.
eat any cheeseburgers?
I don't know. Looking at the size of my double chin in the video, I don't think I'm going to eat any more cheeseburgers.
I'm staying away from the cheeseburgers.
If we're being honest, though, I might have already partaken in a cheeseburger tonight. So I didn't have a heart attack though, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you can't be mad about that. A win's a win, and we're just going to take it and roll with it. So
You wanted to tie flies.
Yeah, like I said, I gotta refill the fly box a little bit here. And I know you had a topic in mind as well.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about probably two things, I guess. One, we're witnessing an amazing feat by a fellow YouTube guy, and he's out there crushing it. And I think the reason that he's crushing it is because he's putting in that effort to make his content better, to grow his channel, and to do right by the YouTube ski, give his audience more of what they want. And as he does that, he inadvertently finds success in some places that maybe some other people might struggle. But I think that's one of the topics. And I think the other topic we should maybe get into is a fishing tournament that we might jump on.
Oh,
But I think
yeah.
we can
I
hold
think
off on that.
until we get somebody to watch us. Nobody likes us, I guess.
Well, we get onesies and twosies. What are you tying there?
Oh, just a little WD-40. I got to zoom in all the way on it because it's so tiny. Barely see the thing. It's a little tough. I've noticed that, like, even though, like, I'm not even old, right? But even in the last couple of years here, man, it has gotten extremely difficult to tie anything this small, and it's not very pleasant. I kind of just roll with it because I need them, but I don't really enjoy tying them. That's for sure.
Well, it's an art for those who do, and anybody that does that are your age, my age, or older. They're definitely tying with some magnification lenses.
Well, and that's certainly a good point there. And I used to have a really nice setup for it. I don't know what happened to it, but sometimes that's
Well,
just the
might
way
have
it
moved.
goes. It was a really cool light. It was a really cool light. It was a like a round one, and then it was like a light around the outside and a magnifier on the inside. I wish I could find another one. I'm sure I probably could if I looked hard enough. But that thing was just solid. I mean, it was the bee's knees when it came to fly tying. So,
The next time somebody jumps on, I want to ask how our audio is and whether or not there's a delay.
so what you
I
should
don't
do
think
is
there
probably
could
just
be.
you should probably just go talk to your wife and see. If anybody's
Oh, you
watching
know what
this
I
and able
could
to
do?
see this, if you could just put something down in the comments, let us know how our quality is, let us know how the audio is. Just give us some feedback here. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Man, you're doing a fine job there, Alfred.
Yeah, I mean when you're talking something that small, I can't even like here, let me that'll make it a little easier. I can probably bring it up to the camera a little. Whether or not the camera will see it is a whole other thing. But
A
yeah,
22
nothing.
or 24?
This is a 22. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's too many people on tonight.
A couple here and there. Hey, welcome to the live. If you're just joining us, Alfred and I we're going to talk about a couple things. We've got an upcoming fishing tournament that we might jump on this weekend. Looks like it'll be a nightmare of a logistical challenge, but it's nothing that the pain train is, oh, I guess not ready for. And then he's tying some flies to get ready to possibly make a trip on one of these other really great limestone streams here in Pennsylvania, possibly Yellow Breeches. If we can convince each other to make the drive and do it.
The
And
the part is it's not even that far of a drive, which is really a shame that we haven't fished it yet. But when we're getting into the trout that we've been getting into on streams that are a little more local, it's almost hard to justify a 40-minute drive, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's just the way it goes. So yeah, I think
yeah,
that's where we're at, right?
but I tell you that I talked to Tom about the weekend?
You spoke to Tom, and Tom's your
Yeah.
brother.
Yep. He
All
said
right,
he is totally
and
down. I may have to fill up the boat, which could cost a significant amount of money depending on how low it is right now. The good news is he in last week, so we could go up there for the weekend. We could do whatever we need to do as far as fishing. We've got a place to sleep. We've got plenty of food. I, his boat's like 31 feet, so there's a lot of space. We're able to cook, do all the stuff we need to do, get a shower. He can drop us off in the morning in a spot if we want to check it out. He can come and pick us up. He can move us. Basically, he usually goes out for the day. Once he leaves the marina, he's gone until dark. So if he leaves at 10 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, he's going to be on the water all day.
So
If
it
he's got
it
a good
sounds like
southern wind,
realistically, it sounds like you've got this pretty figured out, or you've got a pretty
yeah,
good plan going into this.
I think it's a go, man. I think we're just going to send it pain train style.
So to give everybody watching a little insight, there is a carp tournament in Pennsylvania next week, and so for registration we have to drive 2 hours just to register, and then we're going to come back and we're going to drive 2 more hours in a different direction so we can go and start fishing and hopefully catch some carp. So it's a little interesting. It's going to be, we always talk about. Let me zoom out here for a second, right? So we always talk about the pain train and how we're the first ones to board that, and man, I'll tell you what, we're riding the pain train this weekend if we go through with this tournament because it's gonna be a long and painful weekend. It's gonna be pretty much 48 hours of no sleep.
I don't know if it'll be no sleep, but it'll definitely be limited sleep.
Limited sleep, and like even on Sunday, man, it's gonna be crazy. And
We'll
what
have to
time was it?
leave the boat.
7.
We'll have to
I,
leave the boat at like 9. I'm gonna guess 9:30 at the latest to get up to weigh in by noon at Williamsport.
exactly. So I
Like
mean, we're already
mathematically,
at.
we'll throw it on the map tomorrow and map it out and see how long it's gonna take. I mean, we're getting into a commitment. We're gonna drive 12 hours. We're gonna fish 30 hours, and we're gonna sleep 4 hours. Like
When
that's
you put
just
it
how
like
it's gonna
that,
be.
it sounds full. It doesn't sound like a good weekend, if I'm being honest. Like it just does not sound fun.
Well, I
But
think that's
that
why having a YouTube channel and being an outdoor enthusiast, when you mix the two together, it's not as much fun as just going to the lake and having a blast and drinking some beer. I mean, this is work.
yeah, it certainly is.
Well, look,
It
it's 20
certainly
after
is.
9. We should be getting ready for bed, and your time flies, and we're doing a live.
Tying flies. And honestly, I'm only tying flies because we're doing the live. I was editing content. You were editing content. We kind of just took a break so we could go live, talk about what's, the upcoming tournament, talk about some of the struggles of doing this, of doing an outdoor channel. And man, we're talking about that right now. It's a second job, and we put in anywhere from 20 to 40 extra hours a week working on this stuff.
At least. At least. I
And
read an article today. I got to tell you about this. No, it wasn't an article. It was a Facebook post, and it was an old picture of Dan Infault, and he had said something about, uh, you know, in the early stages of his hunting career, like back in the early '80s or maybe it was late '80s. I'm not sure what the time frame was, but he had talked about you'd probably see a guy who's, covered in briar bush snags and ripped jeans and bloody arms, just out in the bush, beating it to death, trying to find the big bucks because it was all about killing the big bucks. There weren't a lot of them around, and to kill one, you had to put the work in. And then at the end of it, though, he admitted that he probably wasn't the greatest father at that time. He probably wasn't the greatest husband at that time, um, but he would never change it. Like it was what it was. He went out to be a hunter at that point in his life, and that's the sacrifice that you make. And I think anytime that you get involved in this kind of stuff, it is a job. So if you have another job somewhere else, there's definitely a split in how much time you can slice off for the family, how much time you can slice off for the things you've got to do around the house. And that's why I got to give it up to Bill. Like he's hitting it hard just like we are. He's a little bit of an older gentleman, and he's having a trout season like your bow season was last year.
yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crushing it. The neither of us were there when he caught the huge rainbow, that 24-inch rainbow. But I was there with him yesterday when he managed to pull out the biggest brook trout that I've ever seen caught in person. And the
It's a
crazier,
monster.
it's a monster. And I think the crazier part about it is I don't think it's a hatchery fish. If it is,
It looks like
it's
a
been in.
dinosaur. It looks like that fish could be 10 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's that old, but I think what's happening. Uh, there's not really a good way to prove this without maybe. I mean, I don't think there's any way to prove it. But my my reasoning leads me to believe that these fish are spawning up in this creek, and then they're going back to this private reservoir that people can't fish. And then what's happening is they're either coming back into spawn or they're coming in for food or whatever the case is. And I truly believe that the brook trout that we caught or that he caught out of there was a wild fish. And it was just back up in there feeding. Like I said,
Did you
I've
see
never
who
seen anything.
jumped on the live?
No, I
I
did not.
jumped on.
Outside was Shad.
Outside with Shive is on the
What's
live.
up?
Cheers, buddy. We're glad to have you jumping on.
Heck yeah, we definitely appreciate your support. We got
Man,
a
we
big YouTuber in our midst right now. But so like I was saying, these trout, and they're reports of this coming from the locals. People who have been in the area for 20 or 30 years. They all know that it's a well-known fact that these, not brook trout, but brown trout are coming up in the fall to spawn, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're brookies and they're doing the exact same thing, which I just think is so cool, because the only other time I've seen something like that is when you get into like the Great Lakes environment, and you have
Yeah.
salmon, steelhead, and brown trout coming in to spawn in the fall. So it's definitely a unique fishery. It's definitely a super cool fishery. But I guess to get back on track here, Bill is absolutely crushing it this season. He hasn't fished in 30 years now, and he's coming out and he's having the time of his life, and he's filming the whole thing. I think a lot of people struggle with outdoor channels. They struggle with that transition period where they kind of try and drag out the hunting or the fishing all year round when it doesn't really benefit you to do that, unless you're just not in anything else. But I'll tell you what, by the time like February and March hits, the last thing I want to think about is hunting. And we hunt so hard that it's like we're not even mentally there until August of next year.
Like you couldn't put a couple of kill shots of some nice bucks in front of me right now and expect me to care. Like
Yeah.
no. September 13th, I'll be caring. But right now I'll be a Karen. Yeah, I don't have anything in me for that right now. And that's kind of a from an analytics standpoint, you're looking at a lot of your people, your subscribers, like we do something that's seasonal. And I would hate to think that our subscribers are seasonal.
No, and
Hey,
I think it
Shad said
directly
he just came in to
translates.
see what up. He said we got to head down to Clark's Valley when the breeders are coming out. I said, well, look, we tried to get in there the other day and look for some big browns in the dark, and it was tough going. But did he see the fish that Bill caught?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Shive, if that's what we were just literally just talking about. So, yeah, and we were talking about how these fish are coming out of the lake and spawning, or the reservoir and spawning on there. So I don't know. The viewer bar up top gets a little weird, I think.
No, he's
Yeah, see, so this is what I'm saying. The viewer bar gets a little weird. But yeah, so I completely lost my train of thought. Maybe you can reel me back in here. No pun intended.
You were talking about how you guys were out actually looking for some of those breeders coming out of the reservoir the other day, and that's when he caught that. Is it 20 inches? Is it 21 inches? I mean, it's
No,
like a
it's
monster.
probably 16, 17, but the girth on it was absolutely insane. I mean, just a big, like, muscular. It wasn't like fat, like a lot of these stockfish that get like a belly on them. It was just like muscle. I mean, the thing was just looked like sheer muscle. It was crazy. And like we said, if it was stocked in the stream, it would surprise me just because like the fins weren't beat up. Like it didn't, you know, seem to look like some of the other breeders or some of the other stockfish that they put in there. So that's where I'm at with it. Got to show off the trophies.
I had to show it to Shad.
I think he's got one bigger on the wall than what you got up there, though. So
I'm sure he does, but it's not like a wiener. We're not comparing.
I mean, we could. We're just not going to do that on live, guys. So you don't have to worry. But
actually, now that we're talking about it, Bill just sent a message. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't read the whole thing. He said something about doing a video. But yeah, I think, from the outside looking in, I don't know how a guy, and I told him that in a text earlier today, I don't know how he's just able to keep pace with it, because he's at it every single day. And I think that's why, for years I'd watch people on the social media platforms have just crazy success. A lot of times, 2 or 3 times as much success as another guy that's just hunting hard or just fishing hard. And I always wondered, I'm like, man, how do they do it? Like, how are they so consistent? But therein lies the balance, like if you're willing to forgo everything else in life and really chase down the content, then you get better at your craft. It's almost like an exponential elevation of your skill level. And it's really, man, I see that from week to week with the quality of the stuff that we're putting out, how we set up on the stream with the cameras, how we get some shot angles. The video editing stuff is coming along nicely. But then when you're looking at other people, especially on these smaller YouTube channels that are looking at some of our stuff, and we're looking at some of their stuff, and they're coming right along too, because they're working just as hard as we are. And it's just a cool thing to watch. Like it's almost like watching a kid grow up.
yeah, no, it's certainly interesting. And honestly, like I think there's just some quality that some people have where they're driven and they're super passionate about something in life, and no matter what it is, like they're gonna succeed. And I think if you carry that quality over to your YouTube and you put everything into it, you don't get discouraged, because the highs are great when we put out a video that gets 50,000 views. It's phenomenal, and we feel on top of the world. We're awesome, or we're enthusiastic that people like our content. Kind of motivates us, gives us a nice bump. But then we have weeks where we maybe do a total of 10,000 views, and it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And you can't let it affect your work ethic. You just got to keep your head down and keep grinding. That's been the biggest struggle, I think, for me at least, is just trying to keep the motivation, trying to keep it going. Because we put, like, especially like, maybe views isn't like the right way to measure this. But when we start talking about like long form videos, and we have, I mean, you put hours into editing, and then you put something out that gets like 100, 150, 300 views, and you're just, oh, we put so much work on the stream into getting these great camera angles and getting the right shots. And you think that the finished product is really good, but then it's like, ooh, I didn't get the views I wanted. But hey, next video, keep working. What can we improve on?
Well, I think, we're our worst critics too, because we jumped outside of the, took a look in, and, right away we're like, ooh, man, like some of our stuff in the early portion was like, we could have done better.
Well, and we know that now. Hindsight's 2020. Yeah, well, that's the thing, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, don't get discouraged. Keep your head down. Keep grinding, and then look at it. And it's nice because we have 2 people, so we can look at it with an honest opinion on everything we put out, right? So, and you and I are pretty blunt with each other, because in the end, we know it's going to produce the best content. And if you look at the last 5 long form videos that we put out, and we'll check out the one that we're going to put out on June 1st, and you will see how drastically the quality has increased, because we are so hard on ourselves when we do this and we look at what we can do better from the stream and filming.
We're crawling
It's a lot.
on our hands and knees in the dirt, getting camera angles and stuff. I don't know what Bill's just hammering away at the text.
Bill's hammering away. See, we should just have him jump on the live. If I knew how to do that, I think I would have had to share the link prior to going live. This isn't
I can
necessarily my
share it with
forte,
him and
but
see if he can jump on.
yeah, I mean, you can give it a go and see what happens. See, outside with Shibe, we appreciate you checking in here. Anybody else who's in the live, go check out his channel. He's a pretty big guy, so it means a lot when he comes to check out our live and drop some comments, let us know how everything's going, and give us some feedback. And if you ever need help with a video, buddy, you let us know, and we'll be there. So I know you're with your best friend Sam currently, but we're there for you if you need us.
No, I love his channel. His stuff is just, man, he's consistent. He's been at it for a long, long time. And the grind is starting to pay off. You know, it's just like, man, it's like anything else we've done, dude. We'd hike for 250 miles in a shed season, but then we'd find that little pocket where there's just 10 sheds over 400 yards. And you're like, man, if you just know where that spot was prior to walking the 250 miles, it'd be too easy and it wouldn't be worth it. But now that you did all that, you have the sore feet, the busted up back, and you climbed every mountain in Pennsylvania to finally find that little pocket, then it means something. So I think once we get some steam under our belt, we keep rolling how we're rolling, and we get to a spot where we can monetize the channel, like, it's going to be awesome. Hey, Bomad jumped on. Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey, we appreciate you checking us out.
Yeah, he was sending, like I said, he was sending some texts. I didn't know if you got them, but yeah.
Well, I don't think it. I mean, that goes in the phone settings. But I think one of the other great things that has motivated us, but also been a very positive influence to our channel, is having Bomad Outdoors be my neighbor. And it was funny because we didn't talk for how many months. We had a couple videos that went out, and that's how we ended up meeting, I guess. We had a little bit of a bow challenge there. I like to talk a little smack, get people a little riled up, and he called me out to a bow challenge. He whooped my butt. We don't got to talk about that. So I didn't necessarily feel comfortable putting the video out yet, but we'll see. I think it's going to be a multifaceted series. So stay tuned on that. We're collaborating, but just being able to collaborate with other YouTube guys who are around the same size as you is fantastic as well. And we work together weekly, so give each other feedback, help share each other's content. It's been a real benefit to both of us. So we certainly appreciate everybody else.
Heads up on the rattlesnake situation.
That is true.
If not,
so how about
go ahead.
How about you get into the weekend here, and we'll cover that again for anybody who might have missed out on it.
All right, so if you guys are listening, we're going to do there's a carp fishing tournament. We've got to drive to Williamsport to register for this thing on Friday between 5 and 7 p.m. That means I got to take some leave from work. I'm going to leave from Fort Indiantown Gap, right? I'm going to drive up over the mountain. I don't know how we're going to do that logistically yet, but I think, Alfred, you're probably pegged to drive, because we're not going to fit all the stuff in the back of my Jeep and still get there. I mean, I'll drive if you want. I don't care. I'll take the car. Doesn't matter. But we're going to drive to Williamsport. We're going to register for this thing. Entry fee is $65. There's a $10 biggest fish contest, I guess. So it's going to be $75 per team, or maybe it's $10 per. I don't know. It's either $75 or $85 for the team. I don't know if we can start fishing at midnight, but I think it's at 12:01 on Saturday. You can fish all weekend. Way out or way in is again in Williamsport, so that's at noon on Sunday.
Let me interject real quick. So I did get clarification on that. Right after we register, we are good to start fishing. So
Okay.
we are literally going to do a turn and burn up to Williamsport, and then another, how many, 2.5 hours.
I haven't looked at the maps to see how far it is, but I'm going to imagine it's about 2.5 hours. We're going to head over to Racetown Lake. My brother's got a big, he's got an older 31 foot, I think it's 31 foot or 38 foot. It might as well be a yacht. Who knows? I think it's a 31-foot Larson. We got a place to stay. We got beds. We got a warm shower. We got a place to cook food. Our plan is to hit a couple spots there that I know are a little bit more shallow, maybe more conducive to some carp hanging out in there. We've got to, we've got to figure out what we're going to use for bait. Neither one of us by trade have done a lot of this, and most of our experience is probably limited to some corn and some smaller ponds. But we're going to hit it as hard as we can. I've already got an Amazon order ready to go. I'm going to push go on an Amazon order, and hopefully it'll be here in 2 days. Got a couple of good rods for this. I've got some saltwater rods that we'll use. They're just 10-foot rod, 12-foot rod, nothing crazy. Some bigger reels, but again, you can't horse these fish. But if we could put two 30 or 35-pound fish in the cooler before sunrise on Saturday, we'll be way ahead of the game. Because if we can do that, last year's top prize was 120 pounds. You have a 5 fish limit, right? That's what the guy told you.
Yep, that is correct.
Man, it's doable. I mean, we could do it. And I would
It
imagine
sounds
probably
doable.
200-300 people sign up for this.
I think average is about 40 to 50. So I don't think it's going to be quite as big as you think it
Well,
is, and even with only 40 to 50, they have a lot of giveaways that they're doing as well. So, that's something cool. And I think it's more so about us just proving like why we have the name Pain Train Outdoors, because like this is absolutely insane. Like it's just crazy. Like, hey, we found out about this tournament on Tuesday. We're gonna go out on Friday, drive crazy distance, and try and make something happen.
well, and we had talked about this, and we had a couple different. You and I, we're like a well-oiled team in most respects, and one of those areas that I think is probably most pertinent for this particular endeavor is our ability to kind of break down what our challenges are, what our strengths are, and then develop a solid plan. And I have a little bit of experience fishing a little further that direction because I grew up out there and I did fish the Juniata. By the way, the record carp, 54, 6, something like that pounds, had come out of the Juniata 1960s. So there are some big fish out there, and we can fish the reservoir. I mean, we could fish, Lake Racetown proper. We can do some sight fishing along the river. We can cover a lot of ground. We have a boat. And, we kind of have free range with the boat, so we could do whatever we got to do. And the challenge, we got mileage, we got time constraints. We're already behind the curve as far as planning. We have no scouting. And when I said to Alfred, I said, look, we could go to one of these local spots. We could do that. And we know we'll probably catch 5, 6, 8, 10 fish over a day and a half period of time. They're all going to be 10 or 15 pounders. And that's not going to put us in a winning spot. If we had to kill a deer and we had to kill a big buck right now, would we go to one of those spots where we know we're going to see bucks? Or would we go to one of those spots where we have a chance at killing a world-class buck? And I think that's where, no, I don't think, no, I don't know. We won't know until we show up there, I guess, what the full list of rules are. I mean, maybe we can check that
Yeah,
out.
I don't think any bow fishing is allowed, unfortunately, for us,
Yeah.
because that's
Bow
one
Matt,
thing
I
we'd
used to,
actually
as a
probably be pretty
kid,
good at.
I cut my teeth on a Juniata fishing for smallmouth, and we would go down and we would kick up a bunch of Helgermites in a sign net. And I'm telling you, late July, August, those fish in there were so aggressive. hitting absolutely anything you threw at him. It was probably some of the funnest times I've ever had. Outside of this year's trout fishing. I mean, Ron, what's going on, man? We got Ron on there. Everybody's out.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody jumping on the live.
Guys, we thank you for the support.
Awesome.
We thank you for jumping on the live and taking a look and, helping the channel out. I really do. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, man, this means a lot to us. But Pain Train, we're going to jump on it this weekend. And, till we get done on Saturday, I know for a fact we're going to be exhausted. My old body is going to be just tore up. I'm going to be beat. We'll probably do 12 hours of driving. We'll probably do 30 hours of fishing and 5 or 6 hours of sleeping. It's just the way it's going to be.
And then Monday it's back to work, so it's going to be painful. Yeah, for me it's back to work, so it'll be painful for one of us. The bright side is here, like I have the age on you, so I should have the stamina that goes with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel that way, especially when I've got a 1-year-old back at home.
And you're one cheeseburger away from a heart attack.
And I'm one cheeseburger away from a heart attack. The double neck is not really working for me too well. Not a huge fan on it. What is Al working on? So I had a couple flies going. I was working on what's called a WD-40.
Yeah,
work is overrated. So I have them. Hang on, I'm gonna have to grab this thing. Let me show you here, guys. I'll show you what I was working on. Well, you have to go grab it with pliers so I can try and make it happen. So it's a little WD-40. It's probably not going to come out very well in the camera because it's not going to focus well. But I mean, it's a size 22. It'll fit in the head of a dime. I mean, it's absolutely tiny, but when you're fishing for picky trout, you absolutely need some smaller flies. So, but yeah, work is definitely overrated. That's why we're trying to get an outdoors YouTube going. It's absolutely exhausting, but at least it's something you love, and if you're passionate about it, then it's not as bad, right?
Thanks for your feedback, Bomad. We both put the earpieces in today. It's almost like a lavalier mic. Works really good. We had a lot of feedback the last time we were on, and I think that hurt. So as we move along, we try to integrate things like the live, try to do a couple of things with the channel to kind of put our face out there, interact with the viewers and the audience. This is just some of the stuff that we're figuring out as we go along. We had some challenges getting connected. I don't think we went live until about 6 or 7 minutes after 9 when we scheduled it for 9. But so far it's been good.
Yeah, I don't think we can complain about it since once we got it worked out, it wasn't too bad.
And Al's keeping everybody entertained.
I don't know if that's true. Keeping myself entertained, and like I said earlier, this is one of the few opportunities I have to actually sit down and tie flies, because every other time I'm editing content or taking care of the baby or spending time with the wife, and this kind of circles back to what you were talking about earlier. It's very difficult to try and do all this stuff and maintain some sort of family life. Yeah, no, I see it. Maintaining family life, maintaining a social life is super hard. Our social life is, let's see, a beadhead prince nymph. Ooh, Ron, I don't know if I have the stuff. I don't have the stuff right in front of me to do that. Otherwise, I would. But you need the goose bites, and I don't have them. Well, I have them somewhere, but they might be out in the shed still. So we're not going to do that one tonight. That and pheasant tail is. Pheasant tail is far superior to a prince nymph. Just my opinion, and honestly, any wet fly is superior to those. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that's one of my favorites to throw too. Again, we've been fishing some tough conditions here lately. Flow rate in the stream that we're fishing has been really minimal, right? It's almost impossible to get a nymph down and get it working across the bottom. It just kind of lays down there. But Al's figured it out. He's an expert at matching the weight for the flow rate. He's an expert at picking, which wet fly he's going to throw. And a lot of times he's running it off a dropper, and it just seems like seems like every time he jumps in there, he's hitting it.
Yeah, I do pretty good as long as the streams are moving. What me and Bill were fishing yesterday, Bomat Outdoors, was super tough for me just because it was super stagnant water. It's cold water because it's coming out of a spring fed creek, but right where it starts dumping into the lake, it is super slow. It's super deep as well, right? So for anybody who fly fishes, it's pretty difficult to get a fly down over, like especially with a floating line, anything past like 5 or 6 feet is super tough. And then
Yeah, you've got to have
when
some fast moving water.
yeah, so that was a struggle. He was absolutely crushing it on spinners yesterday. It was awesome to watch. These giant shadows come up from the bottom and just attack his spinner. That was super cool. I did have some success with streamers. I caught, I don't know, 2 or 3 smallies, and then I had a pickerel follow in one of my streamers, a Clouser minnow, like right up to the bank, and then I got to do the figure eight, which is normally done for muskie, but pickerel muskie, the only difference to me is really size. And then he smashed it right on the turn. It was cool to watch, I mean, it's not the same size as a muskie, but it was still a pretty cool experience. So I appreciate Bomat Outdoors taking me out to a new spot on the creek yesterday. That was super fun. So yeah, he just
Uh,
put down in the comments we need some rain, and he is very correct about that. Fishing season is going to be wrapping up here real soon if we don't get it. So
well, and my schedule's going to limit that too. I've got a vacation. The family and I were going to head to Alaska on the 14th. Be up there till the 21st. When I come back, we'll be almost finishing up. We've got to start shooting the bows. We've got to start and get geared up for archery season. There's a couple of more projects that we're going to work. I know there's going to be some night fishing for some big browns. I don't know exactly where that's going to be. We might even get into that a little bit at Racetown. Hopefully, we can put a couple big fish in the box early, and then maybe go after a couple lunkers out there. We'll see. I mean, and then after that, like August, beach trip. We're gonna take Alfred down to the beach. We're gonna do some shark fishing. We're gonna do some saltwater stuff. Uh, Hopefully, we can get in on some of these. I mean, you can't keep any flounder down there, but anytime you're fishing, a bucktail jig or something like that with any kind of trailer on it, they're gonna hammer it. But mostly, we're gonna go after the sheep's head. Gonna try to catch some croaker. I haven't, man, I haven't had any success down there with the pompano, but it seems like that time of year the sea trout are always hitting pretty good. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we haven't booked it yet. Well, I don't know because my wife does a lot of stuff without, she doesn't get clearance. I mean, she may have already booked a charter for us to go out on. And if that happens, if we get the girls together, um, get one of them out there, uh, get on some redfish. I mean, could you imagine one of the ladies fighting, a 30, 35-inch big old bull? Man, oh, it'll be fun.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the shark fishing. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to that. You got pretty good experience with that. Um,
Yeah, and
so
we'll talk about it too. But we have an invite. We have an open invite to head out with a buddy of mine, and do some shark fishing in sometime in July. I think 21st through the 23rd or something like that. But that's right in line with my kid's birthday. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work out this year. But last year we spent one night down there. I think a total of 14 hours. We caught, or no, total of 9 hours fishing. We caught 14 sharks. I think 3 of them were, like the 9-foot category, and then we caught, those are all sand tigers. And then we caught quite a few sandbar sharks, early on, anywhere from 25 to 45, 50 inches. Just man, an awesome experience. But it's a little sketch. I'm it's like going trout fishing in rattlesnake infested Clark's Creek. In the dark. Hey, I'm gonna take, dude. I need a 30-second intermission. Keep everybody on the line here.
swinging wet flies, throwing dry flies is probably one of my favorite ways to do it when you have to listen for a rise and then you're casting to where you think it is and then, setting the hook when you hear a rise. Like that's probably one of the most fun ways to do it. But throwing streamers and swinging wet flies seems to be a lot more effective. You don't really miss fish when you're doing that. Uh-oh, can't hear me. Audio trouble. Let me know if it's okay, cool. Yeah, so like I was saying, nighttime fishing, throwing dry flies is definitely the most fun. It's definitely the most challenging as well because when you're swinging wet flies or throwing a streamer and crawling it back, it's I mean the fish pretty much hooks itself, so it's not super difficult. But I mean, just everything about Clark's is uninviting and super difficult during the day, let alone at night when you can't cast at all. And it's absolutely terrible. Outside with Shibe, I'd love to take you out sometime. Maybe we can make a video on it. Shibe's first Shibe with the fly, something like that. We'll figure out a title. It'd be kind of cool.
Hey, I'll give him a fly rod.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We both got a couple fly rods now. You really dove into the whole fly fishing thing. You were like, hey, I'm just gonna spend $1,000 and we're just gonna do it.
Well, hey, look, I went off the deep end.
I'm not hating on you for it. I love it. I mean, that pretty much describes our personalities. Like when we commit to something, we just balls to the wall. That's what we do. So I think that's one of the reasons we get along so well.
Like, have you tried the fly fishing section down at Clark's? Is there a fly fishing only section down there?
There is. I've hit it once before in January. I caught 2 or 3 trout, nothing crazy, both wild fish. And I know me and me and Bomat Outdoors had the experience when we were fishing below the dam 2 days ago. It was all wild trout down there. It didn't even look like they stopped because they were all wild trout. So I don't know.
Well, that
Maybe.
section where I took the video of the gentleman stalking, when they left, they only had a couple fish left in the barrel, and they said that they only stalk down to the next big hole down there, and that's the one where the rope bridge comes across.
Hmm.
So anything below that is stuff that moved downstream, or stuff that's coming upstream, or stuff that lives there wild.
Well, and they do stock it below the dam as well, and I think that's what he was referring to is above the reservoir is what he was talking about. They do stock it, but I don't know where exactly they start the stocking below the dam. So, that's one of the things we'll have to try and figure out next year. Maybe we volunteer and we go stock some fish with them.
Yeah, and I told the guy straight up I would love to do it.
Yeah, so I certainly
Well,
think
man, I
that's
think what you need to do is you need to start and work your POC down there, and maybe we could do a collab, man, or yeah, something. I mean, I have no problem filling a guy's boat, for a weekend on the water if that's what it takes. And certainly we'll bring a couple of cases of Miller Lite to keep everybody well hydrated as we do some fishing.
Yeah, definitely bring Ron out with you as well. Could be a good time.
Yeah, if nothing, we could use them for bait. I'm kidding, Ron.
Uh,
Watch it.
well, so I know we're jumping all over the place, but I think that's one of the things that kind of has changed, and one of the reasons that people don't really come into the outdoors as much anymore. A lot of the camaraderie's gone with it. When we used to go up the first couple of years, I went up to salmon camp. Everybody would sit out by the fire. We'd sit out there until 12 o'clock at night, and then 4:30 the next day, we're getting up to go down to the river. Maybe it's us getting older, but there's not really an influx of anybody younger. I was the youngest in the group. And so there's just not that camaraderie anymore, it seems. And that's across all of the outdoors, whether it's fishing or hunting. That's one of the reasons that all the old timers are arguing against a Saturday opening day rifle season for deer in Pennsylvania. It's we got to go up to our
that topic.
That's a whole nother thing. But honestly, like I'm not afraid to get into it. I only have 2 days off a week, And so if I could hunt both of those days, like that's really cool. The Saturday deer opener, like whatever, we've already had 40, 45 days by that point, so it doesn't really matter. Our season starts early September, so whether it starts on a Monday or whether it starts on a Sunday, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, Shibe. Kids really don't want to do much of anything. Like, they don't want to do stuff outside, but get a group of them to do it, I mean, they would be all about it. I think most of them have an interest in it, and I think our generation or the generation before us has really failed at getting people into the outdoors, and now we have to find a way to rope people back in. No, we are not live on any other platforms right now, just the YouTube. We are still in the process of making some other accounts and getting all that other stuff up and running. The challenges of running just just a YouTube or running is that you really have to work hard to get everything going across all the platforms, and that's like 3 or 4 times the amount of work to post everything, and it's a lot. And I know you understand that, but
Shai brings up a great point about the video games and the social media and YouTube and TikTok. But I have a 10-year-old and I struggle with this. And we tried to get him out at one point earlier this year. Al and I took him out. Where did we go? We went up to, I guess we were out at the Gap at Indian Town Run.
yep.
And, he didn't like the bugs. He wanted to sit there and just kind of play with his Nintendo Switch, which, maybe that's my fault for even taking it along. He probably should have just left that thing in the car. But, we were having a phenomenal time out there. Man, see, I need a fridge. I need to put my fridge up here. It's all the way in the garage. You just stood up and boom, you're like refilled.
Just move
Yeah.
the keg inside, and now I'm ready to go. It's about 2 feet away from me, and I can keep driving on.
And the boy has a brand new. I don't remember what. I guess I got him one of the bear bows, right? Is that what I got him?
Yep.
It's fully adjustable all the way down to like 16 pounds. It's fully adjustable for length, draw weight, draw width, draw length, all that stuff. And we got it set up for him. He shot it twice, I think, last year, but then kind of just got away from it. It's one of those things where for me, I would love to see him spend a little bit more time doing it, but I don't want to pressure him either. I think at some point he'll probably pick it up. He talks about fishing a lot, but he's into making the videos. He did spend quite a bit of time while we're out on the stream videoing us, with his own phone, um, you know, acting like dad now, which was cool. But if he's not into it, it's not his thing right now, and I think he'll grow into it. I mean, I don't know if I was super into it either when I was his age. By the time 11, 12, 13 years old hit, it was like, all right, well, everybody at school's talking about going deer hunting with their dad, and hopefully he's around enough kids like that he's like, all right, I got to try this out. He is really interactive though. When we do bring some game home, he likes to be in the garage with us while we're butchering deer. He's totally familiar with that process. He's not grossed out by it at all. He has no problem eating venison if we throw that in some stuff like spaghetti or tacos or whatever, chili. So there's that. Um,
Yeah, I think like Shive just put up in the comments, if you force them into it, they're going to end up hating it. I think if
right.
you just do it and you let them form a natural interest in it, like, hey, where's dad? Hey, I want to come out with you and go hunting or go fishing, then you're going to have a lot more success getting them into it. Maybe one of the other factors is, the economy right now is not so conducive to spending thousands of dollars on new hunting and fishing equipment, and the pressure to have the latest camo or the latest fishing rods or the latest bows or whatever it is, is pretty great. Everybody is sponsored. It seems like everybody is sponsored by somebody, and they're always pushing something. Oh, geez, I can't.
As a
I'll
matter
let
of
you
fact,
respond to
I might be.
that.
Um, yeah, I'm not about forcing the kid to do anything he doesn't want to do. Um, I do like to see it. I suffer from some of that stuff. We talked a little bit earlier about, the camaraderie and things where uh, it's just it's a different world. And I was fishing in a spot here locally where there's a lot of city kids, a lot of city people that come in. They throw some garbage on the ground, they trash the place up. I hate to see it, and I don't even want to say, but at least they're out there because I think we need to do a better job of being sportsmen, policing up our own, our own stuff, and doing what's right. And I did clean up a bag full of garbage and take it off the stream that night. But earlier that day, I was fishing in a spot, and I had an older gentleman, quite old. I don't know how old, but he was up there, maybe 80, 75, 80 years old. He come down into the stream way above me, and right away he was just the water clarity disappeared. I couldn't see the trout I was kind of sight fishing for, and I kind of got frustrated. And then I saw, he's an older gentleman, fly fishing, working his wet flies, coming down through the stream, and then he was having some difficult time trying to navigate and get out, and it was along a street, a pretty steep bank, and I was like, no, it's fine, you can come on down. But my initial instinct was, man, he's messing it up for me. And I'm glad I stepped back away from that, and I offered to help him out of the creek a little bit. Um, but that's the way we need to be as sportsmen. We're out there on public property. We're partaking in these adventures in the wilderness of Pennsylvania, and we're all on the same team. We're all out there trying to enjoy ourselves and have fun. And I think when you try to, like if you get that feeling that you're being upset by something that somebody else is doing, I think you got to take a step back and just be like, he's doing the same thing you're doing. He didn't know you were there. You're in the bushes. He couldn't see you. It's not like he did that on purpose. And just kind of have some respect for what he's doing. Offer that same respect, and then etiquette. You follow those etiquette rules. Do the best job you can, and you're gonna walk in under somebody's tree stand. You're gonna muddy up somebody's fishing hole. That's just part of it. And how you react to it is the measure of who you are and what you're trying to portray out there when you're on you're in the field. It just even me at 43 years old, there's still that, oh man, somebody's going to be in my spot. But it's not my spot. It's not my deer. I've learned that more over the last 3 or 4 years than I have in my whole entire life.
That is
until you put the arrow in it, it's not your deer.
well, and then even then, sometimes you put an arrow in it, and then your buddy who's hunting 50 yards away from you ends up shooting it because he thought you gut shot it, and gets a little messy. Um, but nevertheless, I think that's absolutely fantastic advice. I know I've struggled tremendously with that, especially my first season like bow hunting. And I'd call you up, and I'd be like, or I'd text you, I'd be like, man, somebody just walked in, like it's 30 minutes before dark. I saw a deer, and they spooked him out of here, and blah blah blah. And the reality is, the poor guy probably got off work late. He's looking forward to the 1 or 2 nights a week he actually gets to hunt, and he's just trying to get out and enjoy the woods. We get such tunnel vision, and we get so closed minded that we forget that's the end goal for everybody. So
Yeah,
that's
we're
that's
focused on our
absolutely
own.
fantastic advice. Absolutely fantastic advice. And the other part to that is sometimes it'll push you to be a better hunter. You'll go a little bit further from the road where you're not going to have that experience, or you're going to go to the other spots where people aren't hunting. And a lot of times you'll find that you can hunt there undisturbed, and you're going to have a way better shot at deer.
Well, we've adapted quite nicely because we hunt the pressure, right, and not necessarily the deer pressure. We a lot of our tactics in bow, especially early bow season, we we're paying really close attention to where guys are signing in at the installation we hunt on. We're paying real close attention to where guys are parked at a parking lot on the public that we're hunting, and then from there we kind of have an idea of where they're at and what they're doing. We're looking at trash that people leave behind. We're looking at specific trees that are conducive to being climbed with a climber, whether or not somebody's been up that tree. If you're looking at the tree close enough, you're going to see it. You're going to see pock marks in there from the climbers. And you learn really quick that you don't have to be too far from that spot, but maybe maybe that's just not the spot. So if somebody's been in there, they buggered it up, they put some scent around. It's easy for me to shift 150 or 200 yards into a slightly thicker patch of wooded timber, or a small thicket that's close to there, that maybe that deer that they're hunting seems to be holed up, and then just approach with the right wind, use every other advantage that we can, wind cover. I'm an advocate for high winds. I know you don't like to be in a tree swinging around as much as I do. I'll take the risk of getting smacked in the face with a branch all day long. I've killed the two biggest bucks of my life on high wind days. High wind.
Yeah, it's not the getting smacked in the face with a branch. It's that I've had several close calls with trees coming down, and I've just gotten to the point where
Yeah.
I'm like, if that wind is over 15 miles an hour, I'm not going out. Like, and I know I've seen the statistics. Penn State has a great article out about deer moving more on high wind days. And they actually move less on high wind nights. And if you know that stuff, you can kind of plan like, hey, supposed to get super windy tonight, and the deer know that, so they're going to be up feeding a lot more then, uh, before it gets dark. Yeah, go check out
There's a
PSU. Sorry, let me interject real quick. Go check out PSU Deer Lab. They have a ton of absolutely great studies out there, uh, and it's a lot of really great reading if you're into that sort of stuff. A lot of statistics. So definitely go check them out. I'll reference them constantly because nobody else has that kind of research that's gone into it. So it's really
it's all
cool. They got
specific to Pennsylvania.
yep.
Like, it's
I
all
think that's the other cool
Pennsylvania.
part. Yep.
And
So it's all
they have numerous deer that they've tagged, they've collared, and they've followed them. Uh, I don't remember the name of the buck. Average Joe, I think, is what they called it. But they had tracked this buck for several years, and he was just a 90-inch 8 point, but he was a very mature buck. Um, and it really gets into, it sets the reality away from, like, everybody wants to go out and harvest a 10 point that's got two sides that are this size. This is a 62-inch shed. It's got great mass. It's got fabulous tine length. But this deer, there's not many of those out there. Your average deer is just going to be, even for Pennsylvania, your average 4-year-old is going to be an 8 point that's maybe 110, 115 inches. So it kind of sets that expectation where it needs to be, because, again, all the hunting channels, they just want to bring you these massive bucks. But, anybody that's got money, anybody that has property, and they're in the right place in America, specifically the Midwest, or they're up in Saskatchewan or something like that, where these deer can get really big, they're hunting a different animal. I mean, I think if you take your average decent hunter from Pennsylvania, you put them up against those deer, they're going to fare far better than what they do in Pennsylvania. But you shoot a 110-inch deer a couple of 6-7 years in a row in Pennsylvania, you're an animal. That's all I'm going to say about it.
well, there's a reason that everybody, or a lot of these guys from YouTube, start out in Pennsylvania, and then they end up going out to Ohio and the Midwest. We don't have those quality of bucks. We have significantly more hunters. Uh, we don't have the minerals and all the ag to really allow bucks to get that big. And I don't, obviously I don't know from experience, but if all these guys are doing it, it's got to be easier to kill these deer out there. And if deer are allowed to grow that big, and they've seen several hunters and they weren't a threat, or whatever the case is, I just imagine that it's got to be easier.
Yeah, every 6 point in Pennsylvania's had an arrow slung at it,
Yep.
or it's been shot.
I mean, it's
If
it's
it's a
the
legal
truth,
buck,
and
somebody's trying to kill it.
we still have a lot of this, if it's brown it's down mindset, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If that's how you like to hunt, then I'm not telling you how to hunt or how not to hunt. However, if you look at the Midwest for the last 20 or 30 years now, there's a mindset of, hey, if it's under 130, 150 inches, like, we're not taking that deer. And
Not
they're
even thinking about
allowing
it
them
at
to grow
130.
bigger. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the big
You know,
difference in my mind.
bow mats, if we have a preference for hunting saddles or tree stands or ground, and I think that's That's blatantly obvious from our last year's archery stuff, right? Like we're both saddle hunters. Have we hunted the ground? Yeah, there are very specific situations where both of us will hunt the ground, whether that's in a blind or if it's just tucked up in a tree. Um, Especially like I hunted Maryland a little bit in the western side this year, and I hunted primarily off the ground. Man, different gig. I had a nice 6 point come in to probably what 8 or 9 yards from the ground. 2 years ago, I had an early season buck come in, a nice little 8 point, probably a 2-year-old 8 point come in on the ground within 8 or 10 yards. I mean, it's definitely it's really doable. Again, you've just got to set yourself up, same way you would pick out a tree stand for a saddle or for a stand, using the wind to your favor. Put yourself in a favorable spot. Camouflage, sitting still. I mean, those are the number one things you got to do.
Sitting still is the biggest. Can't change my mind.
Staying off your phone.
Yeah. I mean,
Watching
like
what's going on.
that deer is going to have such, if you're on the ground, like, and this is why I hate doing it, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary, and that's when we adapt, and that's when we do it. But you cannot get away with anything on the ground. We get away with it quite a bit of movement when we're 30, 40 feet up in a tree, and there's a reason we climb that high. You know, it seems absolutely crazy. And I know, Bomad, we were out getting you in the saddle a little bit, and you were like, "How high is he going?" And it's like, "Well, this isn't even hunting height. We're only at 21 feet. Like I got to get up in the limbs where it starts to Y out because I want my figure to disappear up there." And that's something that not too many people do.
Most people want to be in a position in the tree where they don't have anything obstructing their shot. Me,
Yep.
I want to have to pick a hole. And sometimes it bites you. I mean, man, this big buck hanging on the wall 2 days before I killed him, I hit a branch 6 feet in front of me. But any of those trees up there, and where I'm at. We're high on the ridge. We're in the wind, and super mountainous. Like you're about as high as you can get in elevation in most mountains in Pennsylvania. You're at 1,580 feet up there. It doesn't seem super high to a lot of places, but in Pennsylvania, you're up there. And if you're on one of those ridge tops, those trees just do not grow as tall as what they do down at the bottom of the mountain. Some of those trees you can only get to 20 feet, but when you're at 20 feet, you have trouble seeing a deer that's moving through the trees below you at 18 yards. I have plenty of video where I'm trying to video a deer moving through there. There's only maybe 1 or 2 spots I'd be even able to shoot it. But I know if they're coming down that trail, I can stop them. You have to have that confidence. You have to be able to see that, do it actually happening, be able to stop that deer. Again, both of my biggest bucks, high wind days, and I had to stop them in a 2-foot or 3-foot window and kill them right there. That was the only shot opportunity I'd have. And it happens so fast. And it's always low light. That's why Alfred and I we shoot in the dark all the time. We put a spotlight outside, illuminate the target a little bit, but we're looking at the sights through the peep in the dark. And you're just trying to gauge what it looks like, what it feels like, and shoot under that pressure. And we also do some long distance stuff, so that 40-yard shot seems like a bang up, like a chip shot.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, hey, it's getting a little late. We've been on here for about 70 minutes now. What do you think we shut it down for the night? We appreciate Bomad. We appreciate Ron. We appreciate everybody else, Shibe, everybody else who's tuned in. We really love you guys. We appreciate the support. And I think we're gonna call it a night there, as long as you're okay with it.
I'm fine with it. We got a lot of work to do
Alrighty.
yet tonight. We got some more video editing to do and some other stuff. So,
Yep. Alrighty. Peace out, guys.
all right, cheers to the future adventures, man.
Yep.